The DJI Air 3 is already one of the best all-round drones that you can buy. It shoots gorgeous photos and videos, it's rock solid even in strong winds, and it gives you 2 focal lengths, so you can capture both wide and compressed cinematic shots without swapping drones. And the real-world flight times are over 30 minutes. It feels like a true workhorse, not a toy. Now, I've flown the Air 3 a ton, and it's one of my go-to drones. But then we have the DJI Air 3S. On paper, it looks similar, but with some key upgrades. A larger 1-inch sensor, better low light performance, and improved ActiveTrack and Lidar for night flying. So the real question is, if you already have the Air 3 or you're thinking of buying one, is it worth spending the extra to get the Air 3S? I own and fly both of these drones, and this is my real world experience, so no drone sponsorships here. Stick around and I'll give you my honest recommendation at the end. Before we deep dive in some of the features, let's just run through some of the specs and side-by-side differences of the Air 3 and Air 3S. Now, for the size and weight, it's pretty much the same. However, there is a small weight difference, with the Air 3S weighing 724 grams versus 720 grams on the Air 3. Flight characteristics, these are the same. However, the Air 3S has a 1 minute less flight time, but this is negligible. Now, the batteries are the same and interchangeable between the drones, which is great. However, the Air 3S has slightly better energy density at 4,276 mAh versus the 4,241 on the Air 3. And the Air 3S has a lighter battery compared to the Air 3. As for camera differences, the 24mm focal length, the Air 3S has a 1-inch sensor shooting 50 megapixel photos, whereas the Air 3 is a 1/1.3, 48 megapixels. And the aperture is an f1.8 on the Air 3S versus the f1.7 on the Air 3. The 70mm focal length is the exact same on both drones. Also, the bitrate for video, the Air 3S is 130 megabits per second versus the 150 megabits on the Air 3. Now, there is some differences with the resolution and frame rates, and we'll cover that in the next section. The color modes are also the same, with normal, HLG, and D-Log-M, again with some differences in the shooting modes. And for internal storage, Air 3S has 40 gigabytes internal storage versus the 8 gigabytes on the Air 3. Also, the Air 3S gets some safety upgrades with LiDAR and better obstacle avoidance, especially at night. Now, as for the overall build, I have not seen any major difference other than the C1 label being engraved on the Air 3S compared to a sticker on the Air 3. As mentioned earlier, there is a 4 grams weight difference, but this is negligible in my opinion, as they're still both C1 label drones. To the untrained eye, they look exactly the same, but if you look at the spec sheet, the Air 3S is slightly bigger, and this is probably due to the bigger camera unit at the front. But this won't have a huge impact for portability. As for durability and real-world handling, well, I haven't crashed yet, and I imagine they have the same durability. And they both handle the same, having flown both drones. Build quality feels great on both, and it feels like a true drone and not like a toy compared to the mini drones. Now, I have the DJI RC2 for both the Air 3 and Air 3S, and you can even sync up so both drones work with just one of these controllers. The caveat being is if you are doing waypoint missions, or you've done them in the past with the Air 3 and now have the Air 3S and using the new controller, these missions aren't saved to the cloud, they're saved to the controller, which is kind of annoying. I could just use the old one, but I didn't realize this until doing my first set of waypoint missions with the Air 3S. The one thing I would ask DJI is to move waypoints to the cloud, so that way it doesn't matter which controller we use. Now, as mentioned earlier, the main camera is now a 1-inch sensor, and it takes 50 megapixel photos for the Air 3S versus the 1/1.3 48 megapixel for the Air 3. The Air 3S also has a slightly wider dynamic range for improved low light performance. The telephoto lens is identical on both. Now, the ISO range for photos are the same, but for video they do differ. In normal color profile modes, the Air 3S gets ISO values up to 12,800 compared to the 6,400 on the Air 3. And for D-Log-M and HLG, they are now up to 3,200 versus the 1,600. photo resolution is slightly bigger. Again, this makes sense with the Air 3S because it's 50 megapixels, you're getting slightly more resolution. The 70mm is the same. While we're talking on camera specifications, let's look at some of the details with the different photo modes in the specs. Now for AEB auto exposure bracketing, the Air 3S at 12 megapixels can shoot 3, 5 or 7 frames, and at 50 megapixels 3 to 5. Whereas the Air 3 at 12 megapixels can only shoot 3 and 5 frames, and 48 megapixels only 3 frames. As for burst shooting, these look the same except for the Air 3S at 48 megapixels can shoot 3 to 5 frames, and the Air 3 can only shoot 3 frames at 48 megapixels. 12 megapixels is the same. And slow motion is another one here, is that the Air 3S can shoot 4K 120, whereas the Air 3 is only 4K 100. And the Air 3S at 1080p can shoot 240 frames per second versus the 200 for the Air 3. Now, if you're someone that likes to shoot vertical video, you can shoot 2.7K on the Air 3S. And the Air 3 actually has 2.7K and 1080p. Now, if you're someone who likes to enjoy color grading, you do have D-Log-M and HLG, and the Air 3S can shoot 10-bit in normal, whereas the Air 3S is only 8-bit. Shooting in D-Log-M, it's 10-bit for both. Now, D-Log-M is better anyways, as it has more dynamic range, and if it's your first time here, all the footage that you see on my channel that I shoot is in D-Log-M and is graded with my LUTs. It's just one click and you're done. You could use DJI's free conversion LUT, which is fine, but if you want something extra with a little more pop, it's one click away. I'll leave a link down below. Now let's talk a little bit about the flight performance and the battery. The Air 3 tops at 47 miles per hour, where the Air 3S can have a higher top speed at 60 miles per hour, but this is with a tailwind. Other than that, they're pretty much the same. And note that in the EU, this is actually capped at 42.5 miles per hour to meet the C1 label rating. Flight stability in windy conditions is the same for both. This drone is literally rock solid in the air. I've never had any issues. Now, real world battery life, the Air 3 is slightly better on endurance with a minute extra flight time. However, both drones will comfortably get 35 minutes of actual flight for both. Now, the DJI Air 3S does weigh 4 grams more, and this is likely due to the LiDAR and camera upgrades. However, the energy density on the Air 3S battery is slightly higher milliamp hours, and this means that the battery actually weighs less than the Air 3. The great thing is, if you end up picking up the Air 3S as well, the batteries are interchangeable and both work, and there is no issues here. Having flown both, they fly the same and both meet the needs of performance and flight time. If you made it this far, chances are you're really enjoying this video, and I'd really appreciate a like. It helps push the video out to more people, and it lets me know you like content like this. Why not let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below? And if you want to join a community of like-minded people that enjoy drones, photography and everything in between, hit that subscribe button. Now let's talk about some of the feature comparisons between these two drones, because there are some. Now the main one obviously is that LiDAR sensor at the front for the Air 3S. It gives you a night flying advantage, and it's safer return to home in low light conditions. You can literally take off without a GPS lock, and the drone will return to home regardless of when it picked up satellites. Just note that when you do take off before gaining full satellite connection, there is a cap in the height limit. Whereas with the Air 3, it's better to gain full satellite connection and have your home point updated before taking off. However, I've never really done this in the past. I always wait for satellites before taking off, but it's good to know that this feature is built into the Air 3S. I've seen plenty of videos online with the smart return to home functionality, and it works really well. Now both drones have vision assist, and I love this feature. The Air 3S has the extra use of the one downward sensor, so you can check what's below you too. However, both drones feature that 360 of obstacle avoidance, and you can look out the drone when doing pullback shots or strafing left or right to see what's either side while maintaining the shot. Now the Air 3S does feature ActiveTrack upgrades for faster subject tracking up to 33-36 miles per hour, and it has a new aesthetic auto mode. I've done a test on both for tracking, so you can check that video out here to see the differences. Now, if you love to shoot panoramas, they have made improvements with the Air 3S where you can now create your own manual panorama, which you cannot do on the Air 3. This is actually I've been using more frequently than just using the 180 degree or wide pano view. I can pick it myself basically and then create that in the edit. Now, when using waypoints, the sensors are really sensitive and sometimes it's detecting something even when you're nowhere near an object. And the same goes for at night. It's kind of annoying because this is actually a really super useful feature for complex flight scenarios, and running waypoints is better for smooth flights and you can maintain VLOS. I know in the past when I've been doing my photo and video comparisons, I was using waypoints and sometimes the Air 3S would just get stuck when there was no object there and I've had to rerun that mission again. I wish DJI would give us the ability to at least turn this down than rather completely off. The other great thing with the Air 3S is that we have something called off-state quick transfer. Now this allows you to send files to your smartphone without actually turning the drone on, compared to the Air 3 which you had to have on. And another important caveat here is that if you have the DJI Air 2 or own a pair of goggles 3, you can actually use this with the Air 3. At the moment of filming, you can't use the Air 3S with the goggles 3, it's just not in the goggles UI. However, I feel like this is just a simple fix with a firmware update. But right now, if you wanted to have immersive flight, you can only do this with the Air 3. Now you just need to decide how important it is for that 1-inch sensor for the 24mm focal length and additional features like LiDAR. Is it worth the extra $500? Don't forget the improved low light performance with the high ISO values, ActiveTrack performance, free panorama mode, and the ability to transfer files without powering the drone on are all benefits over the Air 3. The only standout that could sway your decision is not being able to pair the Air 3S with the goggles 3. But my guess is a future firmware update could solve this. Now I do recommend the Fly More Combo for either of these drones with the upgraded DJI RC2. Freeing up your phone and one less thing to charge is a bliss, and it makes the experience much better. And let's not forget both drones have the 70mm focal length, which is worth every penny and sets you apart from mini drone flyers. And it gets you unique shots and it's very underrated, and I love taking photos and videos with it. The Air 3S Fly More Combo with the RC2 is just under $1,600 and the Air 3 Fly More Combo with the RC2 is just under $1,100. So who should upgrade or buy the Air 3S? If you're a frequent night flyer and want better low light performance, you're a heavy user of ActiveTrack and you want the ability to transfer files without having the drone powered on, and you want better photo and video quality, who should stick with the Air 3? This would be casual hobbyists or those looking for a more affordable upgrade coming from a mini drone. Also, if you shoot primarily during the day and you don't need LiDAR. Both drones are fantastic and you'll be happy with either. Picking up one today still makes sense as we don't know when the next Air 4 will come out. It could be next year, it could be even longer. Even still, it's a fantastic drone and it has longevity. If you enjoyed this video and you're wondering between buying the Air 3 or 3S and the Air 2, then click this video here. Or if you enjoy the cinematic side of things and want to see a video comparison between these two drones, then click this video here. That might help make your final choice. I'll see you in the next video.